Hello and welcome to Guy Free Working on Me, a woman's journey to self-awareness. This is a great moment in your life, a moment where you have decided to stop taking care of everyone else and to just start to take care of yourself. Stick with me through these podcasts and we are going to take the best rides of our lives. Listen up. Guy Free Working on Me is not meant to be a permanent lifestyle. It is meant to be a time in your life where you stop basing your worth, your happiness, and your self-esteem on having a man at your side. This is going to be an all-out redeciding of who you are, who you want to be, and what you feel inside. Are you ready? Let's go.
Hello and welcome, ladies, sisterhood. I am so excited to welcome to our podcast today a woman who has made her life about healing and the human body. And as I'm all about helping to heal the soul, we thought, let's join forces for an awesome and enlightening podcast. Let me tell you a little bit about Andra Millian. Andra holds a Master's of Traditional Chinese Medicine and Chinese Herbal Medicine from the top TCM university in the United States. She has used her skill set in acupuncture and herbology, working in integrative medicine alongside the pediatric surgeons and anesthesiologists at UCLA Medical Center for Pediatric Pain. For the past 20 years, Andra has been in private practice in her beloved Austin, Texas, where she treats the whole person with a focus on chronic ailments and healthy aging. We all could use that, huh, ladies? Since 2001, Andra has been the featured acupuncturist for the Ballet Austin and served on the board as president of Austin Herb Society for the last 2 years. Ladies, we are so very lucky to have someone of Andra's expertise joining us today, and I promise to tell you later how to reach her at the end of the podcast. All right. Please, everyone, take note. This podcast is for information purposes only and is in no way intended as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. It's so important to always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified healthcare professional with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. All right. Welcome, Andra.
Hello, Shauna. Happy to be with you.
Thank you so much for joining us. I thought it would be great to kick off our discussion around the topic of women and self-care. So, we all know so often that this topic is one that I always have to delve into with my clients because they always put themselves last. Do you find this true in your practice?
Yes, and maybe not in the way that we think in my practice. I found that a lot of people, men and women, who have others to care for do put themselves last. People that have children to look out for, people that are taking care of an aged parent, they tend to really put themselves on the back burner. Single women that I see, more than men even actually, but everybody, we're all kind of conditioned, and especially women, to take kind of a passive role in our healthcare. And so when somebody finally gets into my office, I find that women tend to look for ways a lot to get nurtured and to get some help. But, we've been conditioned to the doctor knows everything and you should just sit in your chair and listen to them. And if they say take a pill, take the pill. And if they say cut something, and you don't ask questions, and then that's it. So that creates a very passive, and it ends up being not really caring for yourself that much. If you don't come in with some questions, if you don't think that it's appropriate for you to get second opinions and third opinions. So I find that a lot of times, and more women than not, men, they don't want to go to the doctors at all. So by the time they finally come to see you, they're ready to go. They want some answers. They want to feel better. They're good. You have to remind them a little bit to keep on with the program, but they're like, okay, let's get this done. Let's get this over. And they're pretty good patients once they're in. With women, it's a little harder to get them to really say what's going on with them, to really make a commitment to follow up with their protocols, to ask good questions so that you actually really even know what's going on or how they're feeling about the treatment. And then I find that there's another type of woman, a lot of times single women, who are looking for nurturing, some kind of care. They don't really know what it is. They'll come in, They don't really know why, and we can get into that in a minute. They have a lot of ailments. They've seen 1 million people. They come in with bags of supplements that they've gotten because their neighbor said to do it and their best friend said to do it, and they saw it online. And the last person they went to gave them a whole protocol, but they don't know what it's for. They haven't really done it. They haven't really given themselves time. I always ask when a person comes into my office in their initial intake form, why are you here? What's your goal? Where have you gone? And I ask them, this other practitioner that you went to, was it helping? And a lot of times they'll say, yeah. And a lot of times I'll go, well, why aren't you still seeing that person? And they don't know. So there's a sampling, there's a shopping that goes on with a lot of single women where they're looking for something to help them, but it's a pretty passive way to do it because they don't really ask themselves why.
That's so interesting to me, because do you think it's because you mentioned it, that they don't really know why they're there in the first place? Is it because they have not followed through enough with a specific practitioner or doctor?
I think it's a goals thing. I think I always ask in my intake form, what is your goal for this treatment? Why are you here? What is your goal? What is your health wellness goal? So that we actually have something to follow, so that we can get on the same track with what we're trying to accomplish. And a lot of times, especially with women, it's a little diffuse. And I say, look, even if it's just, I want to feel better. We talked about, the good news is that you are the boss of you. And a lot of women aren't giving themselves that empowerment because of the way we've been brought up. And because of the way the medical care system is actually set up. We're actually set up in allopathic medicine, especially in the olden days. You do what the doctor says. The doctor says this. Why are you doing this? Because the doctor says, what? Did you have any questions to why the doctor said this? Or is this a good doctor? Or did you get a second opinion? Or do you need a second opinion? Do you even know, no, they said I have to be on this medication for the rest of my life. And that's that. So, the good news is that it's your body, it's your mind. But the bad news for some people, and I want to ask you about this, is that it's your responsibility, right? I mean, what do you think about that?
That's such an interesting piece because, of course, we talk about it all the time. Your own happiness is your responsibility. Your own self-awareness and work on yourself and ability to look for tools and find new tools and stick with those new tools is completely your responsibility. So this is no different. However, what I think happens with medical and physical is that I think people start something and they think, wow, this is great. And then they just stop it. I'm totally guilty of that. I got into shape. I was turning the big old 60 and I went, holy hell, I am going to get myself in the best shape because I am not getting old like this. Mm-hmm. And I literally had gained 11 pounds that was way overweight for me. I'm 5'2". So I spent 4 months doing everything, my yoga, my exercise, properly dieting, which I always talk about. And that's another thing I'd love to talk to you about, because I think people misuse the word diet. To me, it's all about what's proper for your body. You don't give an elephant the same diet as you give a monkey. So for me, it was finding out, what was the proper diet for my body. But guess what? I turned that 60. I look freaking fabulous. I was great for 6 months and it's all out the window now. My habits have gone back to what they were before.
Well, I mean, because some things are short-term fixes. If you're going to go be Brad Pitt doesn't even look like Brad Pitt all the time. J-Lo doesn't even look like J-Lo all the time. They get in great shape. They get their trainer. They get their whole thing. They get their six-packs going because they're going to be on, in the next Oscar-winning whatever. But nobody can sustain that. So, I mean, there's dieting and then there's nutrition. There's a sustainable long-term wellness nutrition. And that's really kind of two different things. That's like a fine-tuning for the Olympics and what you're going to do the rest of the year. And that's really absolutely, normal. If you're going to go into a hyper mode for a while to try and get that 11 pounds off, but then you have to figure out what's going to sustain it. Right. So, I mean, it sounds like, that will to want to get in great shape is great. And it is taking care of yourself. And part of it is not beating yourself up because that type of fine tuning is not sustainable for a lifestyle. So, I mean, there's all kinds of diets. They're not meant to be, people make it sound like if you don't live this way, you're a failure somehow and you're not taking good care of yourself. And I don't think that that's right.
Love that you're saying that, Andra, because I think there is a lot of pressure from other people about how we should, quote unquote, should eat, or how everybody's body is different. I love that you work with the Boston Ballet. Here you have pros, physical pros, who are still women, still going through the everyday life. How do you find that they follow through with their protocols with you?
That's a really tough one, because when you're dealing with endurance athletes, and they are endurance athletes, that's a completely different way to deal with nutrition than us regular folks. And especially, you were saying the difference, well, what was it? Monkeys and something else.
Monkeys and elephants have a different diet.
Yeah. So we're the elephants, they're the monkeys. It ain't the same, right? So they're usually very young. They're working out 8 hours a day. They have a completely different set of issues than we do. I'm over 60. I ain't going to be doing what they're doing. It's just not the same. So to think that you're going to eat the same way as an endurance athlete who's 20 years old, when you're 60-year-old postmenopausal female, you're dreaming, and don't even try.
What should be our expectations of ourselves?
Well, I mean, you want a sustainable thing. So there's a great book, and we'll talk about this later, but in Chinese medicine, there's two things. Really, you want to just eat real food. I believe that it's really good to learn to cook for yourself. A lot of people really don't like to cook, but it's really good to know what your taste buds are. At least to know how to fix yourself a few things that you like, really basic. But really, it's to eat real food, which means, not in boxes, not junk food. The basic shop the outside of the aisles. You can look at, the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15 environmental working group for what you actually have to get or really should get organic and what's not that important. You really need to make something regular and sustainable for yourself. Chinese medicine, one of the reasons I got into it is because it has a whole way of actually then eating for an ailment. So if you have, for example, a cold or a flu or something like that, you're going to eat certain things to help you get rid of your mucus, to help you not make things worse. There is a really great book for the lay person. It's not written by a doctor. It's written by a wonderful journalist named Michael Pollan. It's called Food Rules and Eater's Manual. I absolutely love it. I keep it in my office. And it's basically each little page, basically he says, eat food, not too much, mostly vegetables. And that's basically, that's a good place to start. All right. So it's a very doable, what is food? What?
Give the 3 again, because I love that.
And this is really not in the order that he says, but it's called Food Rules and Eater's Manual by Michael Pollan. You can get it anywhere. And he says something like, eat food, mostly vegetables, not too much.
I love that.
Then he gets into what is really food. Like if it comes in through your car window, it's probably not food. If there's a bunch of stuff on a box that you can't pronounce, that's probably not food, right? It really gets these little tidbits, little pages that are very, very easy to follow, that aren't a specific dietary protocol, and that just gets you eating healthier like a normal person.
Ladies, I will put that on the Facebook group so you can go there. I'll put a link to the book so that you can find the book that Andra is talking about. Question for you, because I love this concept, but women who are by themselves tend to not sit and cook big meals, and B, mothers who are home with 3 children. I find that my clients that come in and talk to me say they don't have the time to cook properly for themselves because they're so involved and so busy with the kids and cooking for them.
Well, so my sister's one of those people. She's at home with, she works full time. Her husband works full time. She's got a 10-month-old and a 4-year-old. She's never been a cook. And he does most of the cooking. So they have the income to do it, but they get the boxed meals that with all the recipes, with all the ingredients that they can then sort of make a home cooked meal at home with just throwing some things together. I know at my grocery store here in Austin, there's so many prepared fresh meals, fresh food. If you get fresh frozen things, even if it's fruits and vegetables, those a lot of times are better than stocking the refrigerator with, produce that's going to rot, because those things, even fish that's been frozen on site and things like that, they're very fresh and they're very easy to just sort of fix, put them in. If you're going to have meals delivered from out, if you eat out a lot, just keep those food rules in mind and make sure that you're not overeating heavily processed foods and things like that. Nobody's going to be 100% on it. But a lot of it is just allowing your taste buds to be part of the natural environment. And a lot of it, too, is this time thing that we're really going to have to review. How much outside, and this is a whole other subject, but how much outside help do you actually need to get the fresh air that you need, to get the minimal amount of exercise that you need, to feed yourself real food, to hydrate yourself? I mean, those are just and to sleep enough. And a lot of people can't do those things without an extreme amount of outside help, if at all. And so I really, really think that it's then you have to really look at what your lifestyle is asking you to do.
Would you say those again? Because I think they're so important. And I'm going to talk about balance in another podcast, but I think that is such a great list that we can every woman that's listening can go through this list and see where they are lacking. Can you give it to us again?
Yeah, I mean, it's just the things that we need for life, right? A certain amount of fresh air and sunshine, right? Because of our vitamin D levels and because of our mood and everything else, right? Fresh air and sunshine, a minimum amount of exercise and walking, food that's real food, so a real nutritious diet, the appropriate amount of sleep, which means 7.5 to 8 hours a night, fresh air, sunshine, all just the basic things that people are not allowing themselves to do without a huge amount of sacrifice or an unsustainable way. Things are so sped up and things are, you really need to ask yourself, is my lifestyle contributing to my well-being? And where can I just say, stop a minute? It is doable. I mean, back in the generations before, I don't know exactly, well, I do know. In the generations before, things were a lot clearer about who was going to do what job. You might have to split time between, your husband if you can, or delegate it to an older child or something in order to keep things in balance. But balance, just in the basics of life, have to be there for you to maintain and be a healthy person.
I think that's such an interesting point, is that the roles, male-female roles, have changed so much that now so many women are trying to balance all of the caretaking, all of the things that you just went through, the caretaking of themselves and their children, and hold down jobs and bring in a paycheck. And I think that has become such a challenge for for women. I think it's become a big thing in the last 40 years that we have to take a look at and claim back. If we are going to have to or choose to be in the workforce, then we need to figure out how to nurture ourselves as much as everyone else. That was always our biggest role as women. In the
biggest unpaid role.
Exactly, except for the hugs of our grandbabies. But, believe it or not, Andra, we're almost out of time. And we have so much to talk to Andra about. We are going to have her back for at least one, if not 2 or 3 or 4 sessions coming up, because I can already see all of the questions that I'm going to get. I'm so grateful that you are here. Do you want to leave anybody with a last thought before I tell everyone how to get a hold of you?
I would say, just from what we've been talking about today, set a goal for your well-being. Set a goal. Figure out what it is that you really want to tackle. Keep it doable, and then go find your people. Figure out, can I do this on my own? Do I need help? Where do I get help? And how much do I actually need? How much time am I going to give it? How many times am I going to have to redo the people I have around me? But set your goals for your own wellness, and then go.
I love that. We are going to have Andra back next week to talk about that, the team that you need to put together in order to sustain your goals, in order to reach your goals, in order to feel supported. Andra is going to come back and talk to us about that next week, and I'm very excited because Andra is actually part of my team. In full disclosure, everyone, Andra is my holistic doctor, my nutritionist, I wish she was my acupuncturist. I wish she lived in California, but she is the person that I turn to with any questions that I have or ailments. How should someone get in touch with you if they want to follow through?
So I do have a website. It's AOATCM.com. That's Austin On-Site Acupuncture Traditional Chinese Medicine.com. AOATCM.com. There's a contacts page there where you can email me any of your questions, and I'm happy to answer you in that way. And then there's some good information. There's just some good information about what it is that I do, and if you want to do any type of a consult or anything like that.
You really, everyone, need to go to the site. She has videos. She has information. It's a wealth of information. And then if you're one of the lucky ones that get an appointment with Andra, then you will understand why I love her so much and why I'm going to have her back again.
I'm laughing now.
She's laughing at me. Thank you so much, Andra. We are so grateful. Women, take everything that Andra talked about today. Take a look at balance in your life. Take a look at your goals. Take a look at your health. Take a look at putting you first, making yourself a priority. I want you to go out, breathe, eat, sleep, drink lots of water, and be good to yourself. And I will pop back into your life again next week.
Thank you for joining me today on the Guy Free Podcast. My hope is that you leave this podcast inspired, fired up, and ready to take that next step on the magical journey of self-awareness. And then you come back and join us again. Oh, and if you can do me a quick favor, please leave me a 5-star review over on iTunes. I gain so much from reading the reviews and getting feedback from my listeners. Each week, I'm going to choose one special person who's left me a review to win my book, Guy Free Working on Me. That was the book that started it all. Make sure you add your name to the review, and I'll reach out to you if you're the winner. Thanks again for spending your time with me today. Be sure to visit me on the Guy Free Working on Me Facebook page and on workingonme.com for past episodes and insight into the fabulous journey to you.